Welcome back. We are out here at the wood processing center here at the homestead. This is the area where all the wood gets dumped, cut if needed, split, stacked, all that good stuff. So today we're going to answer a couple questions that have been asked many times, not only by myself, but by many of you who have been watching, and that is, how much wood do you burn every year? And I haven't really measured very well until last year. Last year I had a good way to measure. I kept track of each stack that I used. And so I have a better formula now for how to calculate how much wood I burned last year and how much I'll need this year. My goal is to not only get as much stacked, split and stacked that I burned last year, but more than that, so that I can actually have some left at the end of the season, so I can start preparing for the next season and start to get ahead. That's the idea. So here is the latest dump of wood, and I've got another trailer load or two to get later today. Most all of this is good wood, except for I got a piece of pine in there, a couple little pieces. Most all of this is cherry, it's oak, it's maple, and maybe even some black walnut in here as well. So what I've been doing is I've got this area here that I'm going to make some more stacks in, but what I've been doing is stacking all my wood in here, and I have been buying these tarps, which I got to get a better way to tie these down over the stacks, but they've been working pretty good to keep some of the water off these stacks. So I've got this much stacked here, we've got the stack over here, and I still have a little bit more to finish on this stack that goes over here. But I've got a lot of wood left to split. I know that I need more than what I have stacked. I know that I went through all of this much, and I'm also going to need to put a few rows in there. So at the end of the video, I'm going to measure all these stacks, and we're going to calculate exactly what we used last year. But before I can do that, I broke my splitter again. So I've got to fix it. This got weak here, and what happens is wood sometimes gets shoved behind this slide, and as this pulls up, it's fine when it pushes down because the piston is pushing against the iron here, the steel. But when it pulls up, if something gets stuck behind there, it puts a lot of friction on this thing, and it eventually makes these little points weak. And so I'm going to actually grind this out. I'm going to weld this hardened steel nut in there and see if I can get this to thread through. If I can't, if I don't line it up just perfect, then what I'll try to do, I'll actually just drill this out and use it as a pin, and I'll weld it right in there. So we're going to get this fixed first, and we'll fire up the splitter. We'll get some splitting done here and see if we can fill up some of these other stacks, and then we'll measure everything out and see how much we burned last year. All right, well, that's a few hours of splitting, and we'll call it a day for today. But there's a lot happening here as I'm splitting, so I've got a lot of different wood here. A lot of this is oak. Some of it was cut this year. Some of it I collected from other places where it was cut, you know, a year or two ago. There's stuff that's more seasoned. I've got different varieties of wood, and there's different lengths, different sizes. So as I'm splitting, I'm making a few decisions about how it's split and about where I put it. So everything over here, this is all stuff that's going to be burned in the outdoor wood boiler, which is way over there. This stuff is large. It is big chunks. I can put big pieces, half a logs like that in there. But anything longer, I can fit stuff, you know, up to 36 inches or 30 inches, I think, in the wood boiler. So anything long pieces that I can put in here, big flat pieces like that, chunks, all this stuff can go in the outdoor wood boiler. Also, stuff that's not quite as seasoned, I don't want to put that in my inside wood stove. So I want that to go out here because it's going to have a few months still to dry out a little more. And then a lot of this stuff, the shorter stuff here, there's different varieties of wood that I have in here. Anything that's shorter and that was more seasoned. So I can tell as I split it whether, you know, if it's seasoned or if it's still wet. And I can split a lot of that in here. I'm also putting a mixture of wood in here. I've got some softer maples, I've got some oak. This is all stuff that's gonna be burned on our indoor wood stoves. We have 2 fireplace inserts and a regular traditional fireplace on the inside of the house that we'll use all this for. And then sometimes I'll find some unique wood as I'm splitting through this. I don't actually know what this is. I have to look it up. Maybe elm? Thought this was interesting, so I'll save a few pieces of this, and sometimes I'll run across some black walnut, or even I'll grab some nice, real good grained oak, red oak or white oak, and I'll stack some of this stuff aside as I'm splitting because that's gonna go into my wood shop to dry, and then I can use it for projects. Well, it's time for a quick break. I'm gonna grab some lunch. I'm gonna come out, we're gonna stack all this, put it all into nice stacks out here, get it off the ground and get it start to season and finish drying. And then we will measure everything and see how much we have and if we had as much as last year or not, if we have enough. Okay, we're all stacked. That's it seems like it's a lot more than that, all that work, but this is the one stack. I finished off the top of that little stack. The rest of this here, this is probably maybe a face cord of stuff that I'll stack up by the house later, and I still have quite a bit left to split. Okay, now it's time to do some calculations to figure out how much wood we have. There's a few different ways that we can do this. There's 2 common ways of measuring amounts of wood: face cords and full cords. A face cord is 1/3 of a full cord. What I like to do, because everybody measures differently as far as the length of their logs go, that ranges from like some are 12 inches all the way up to 16 or 18 inches in length as far as the logs go. That can make a big difference in what you consider a face cord. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple averages here, and then I'm going to calculate cubic feet. So I'm going to figure out how many total cubic feet of wood I have, stacked wood, and then that number is a lot more accurate than trying to estimate it into face cords or full cords. How do we do that? This is a pretty average stack of wood for me. I've got various sizes. I've got some chunks that are up there. I've got some shorter pieces here like this one, and then I've got some longer pieces like this one. So this piece right here is almost 2 feet. I mean, in fact, let's the angle of the phone here. It's about 23.5 inches for that piece right there. But then the smaller pieces might be 16, 17 inches, and the smallest pieces might only be 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to average the majority of my wood stacked in all of these are about 18 inches, because I also have a lot of stuff like this that is well over that. And so for any of the smaller bits I have, it's all going to equal out to this one here is, that'll just barely fit, I think, 38 inches in my stove. All I'm going to do is measure the height of each one of these stacks, the length of each one of these stacks, and then I will multiply that times 1.5. So let's say this is 12 feet by 5 feet or 6 feet. So I'll multiply 12 times 6 and then times 1.5. That's 1.5 feet or 18 inches. That will give me the number of cubic feet that I have for each stack. I'll write that down. We'll add up all of the stacks and we'll figure out what our total was, and then I'll compare that to what I had from last year. Okay, so basic estimates for last year, from what I had recorded and from what I can remember. I did have a few stacks that might not be on here. I did split and stack a few piles that I just burned right from the pile before I stacked them. So there's some extra in here. But on average, I had these are the 6-foot stacks that I had. This is how long that they were. I had some 5-foot stacks and I had some 4-foot stacks. All that combined, this is how many cubic feet of each of those I had. The total was 1,455 cubic feet. If you divide that by 128 cubic feet, which is about a full cord, that would be 11.37 full cords that I burned last year. An estimate would be about 34, a little over 34 face cords. That's quite a bit of wood that I burned last year, and it was a pretty mild year. So I want to make sure I have more than this. This is the number that I care about. I want to make sure that I have more than 1,455 cubic feet. I would like to say I want to have at least 1,700 cubic feet, I think, to get ready for this year. So what do I have so far this year? Well, a lot less. So 6-foot stacks, I have two 14-foot long 6-foot stacks. That was 147 cubic feet. I have a bunch of 5-foot stacks that equaled 637.5 cubic feet. So my total as of right now in September, beginning of September, is 784.5 cubic feet. That's about a little over 6 full cords, or about 18 face cords. So I basically need to double this. If I want to get to where I'm at, I need to just about double the amount of wood that I have stacked right now. Well, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little disappointing. I thought that I was closer to the goal. I thought it was more like 80% to the goal, not more like 50 or 60%. So I have quite a bit to go. What I have left to split here will probably, get me maybe another 15% of the way there. But I still have quite a bit of wood to split. So I'm going to get a few more trailer loads tonight. I've got a few other resources of wood that's already cut and into logs that I just need to bring back here and split. And I also have 3 or 4 dead trees that are standing around here that I need to cut before winter comes. So I have plenty of wood here. It's just a matter of getting it split and stacked and ready for the winter. It always seems like enough. Yeah, this will be plenty for the year. I'm sure it will be. In my defense, I will add this. Last year I had a lot of pine that I burned. I had a resource of a ton of pine. I probably brought home maybe 5-6 full trailer loads of pine and split. And that did not burn very good. That burned super quick. All of what I have this year is all hardwood. Everything in here, minus a few pieces here and there of pine, but 98% of what I have in here is oak and hickory and black walnut and maple. Mostly oak though is what I have in here today. So let me know what you think. I'll keep track this year. We could have a colder winter and then it's all going to equal out. So I still want to get to that 1,500 to 1,700 cubic foot goal, and so I'm going to work on that. So now I've got something to aim for. I've got a target, so I can get to work over the next about 6 to 8 weeks. I won't start burning for quite a little while. So I still have 6 to 8 weeks to get the wood that I need for the rest of the season. The wood that I'm splitting here in September won't be used until February, and so it's still got some time to dry out if I keep it covered. Hopefully we can stay ahead of it. Thumbs up on today's video. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear from you guys down below. I burned a lot of wood. I really never added it up. That's over 30 phases a lot. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your comments, and we'll see you next time.